My parents came from China, from the southern province called Amoy. In Hokkien means lower gate. And they didn't go to Malaysia straight away. They went to Thailand first, but I don't know which part of Thailand. So I don't know how long they stayed there. So my mom had a firstborn was a son. According to my mom, there was a Thai lady who was interested in my dad. So apparently my mom said she poisoned her firstborn, my mom's firstborn. So after that she adopted a girl. So that was Tua Ia. And I remember my mom also telling me that when they fled from China by boat to go to Thailand, they met with pirates on the way. They met with pirates at that time. I don't know how long they were in Thailand. Later, they migrated to Malaysia. But my grandparents, that means my mom's parents and her siblings, were all in Malaysia already at that time. And I don't know how she contacted them. She managed to join them in Taiping. And she was the only one born in China, so they call her Teng Sua Chi, that means China's sister. According to my mom, my dad was first employed in the Lee rubber company in Taiping. Then later on, they also had to rear pigs. Then they moved to the country. And after that, I think they opened a provision shop in a Malay area. So my dad worked very hard, and apparently he was a very simpleton. All those Malay kampung people would order provision. He would cycle and deliver all their provision to them on credit. That means they pay at the end of the month. But apparently, my mom said, my dad was such a simpleton. They all cheated him, so many of them didn't pay up. And then all I remember when I was a girl, what I can remember as far back as possible, was when I was, I think, 7 or 8 years old. I noticed my dad was rushing in and out of the shop. We had a double-storied shop in a row of shop houses. And he looked very tired. And I think he was a very strict and bad-tempered man. I remember one day, there was a pipe on the roadside. So he grabbed Tuaku and put him under the running tap and scrub him. Maybe Tuaku didn't take his shower properly. At that time, we went to a Chinese school, and the shop assistant used to take me on a tricycle. And during that time, there was the rickshaw, the man pulling the cart, was still very popular. But we had the trishaw, so I was sent to the school. I remember the shop houses a double story, and the double story was very high. So he used to frighten me and said, "Oh, ghost coming, kui lai lo, kui lai." From there, nowadays I'm very scared of the dark, and And the other thing is, during the Japanese time, I think my father died before the Japanese time. And then I remember one day when it was a rainy season, rainy morning, and I think my dad, because of the hard work he was doing, he didn't have his proper meals and whatever. He had very, very bad ulcers. So the morning, everybody was rushing around, and there was an Indian doctor there in attendance. And that morning, I was having whooping cough. I was sitting in the corner of the room upstairs. Everybody was rushing here and there, and my dad was vomiting blood in a chamber pot. In those days, they have a chamber pot. So when you get up, you urinate in the pot instead of going to the bathroom. So after that, my dad passed away, but I couldn't attend his funeral because I was having whooping cough. So my eldest daughter had to stay with me at home. And so my mom, I think, was only... my dad died at the age of only 49, very young. But I remember he looked very pale and tired all the time. So my mom had to take over the shop by herself with one shop assistant. All I remember was that the shop assistant apparently cheated my mom, and so my mom had to close shop. I don't know how he misappropriated a lot of money. And then the war broke out. The war broke out, or even before the war broke out, what year? After my father died, all the church people said, "Why don't you told my mom to send me to Penang boarding school, the Anglo-Chinese girls' school at that time it was called. But later on it became the Methodist girls' school." So I went there. I stayed in a boarding school with a lot of other girls. And I remember they had literally to drag me there because I didn't want to go at that age, about 8 years old or 9. But when I was in a boarding school, I was really quite happy. Each of us, young girls, had a mentor. And I remember my mentor very well. Can't remember her name now, but her face was very familiar. I can still remember her face very well. And when I was in a boarding school, I remember every morning, maybe once a week, we had the pork porridge. I couldn't stand the pork porridge with the fat. I couldn't eat it. And then we had to take castor oil once a week, and that also was terrible. Once a week during weekend, we will have a bit of a concert, and the dining room was a couple of steps higher than the rest of the floor. So I remember we took turns, all one group gave a concert, and I was very interested in that. So maybe from there I developed my interest in theatre or whatever. My memory of that time there was, and during that time I think what are the Seven Dwarfs? What is the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was first released. So we all, I remember, marched to the theatre matinee, and we we watched the film Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Then I was there only primary 1, primary 2, 2 years. Then the war broke out. So I couldn't go. War broke out, I had to stay. When the war broke out, we had to run to the estate in the country. And there, we had lived in a little house attached to 2 other families, I think. So one was an old man, Yong Pe, I remember his name so much. He would very from China, old man, maybe in his 90s or early 90s. He would blow his pipe, his China pipe. And the only meal he always had was ikan bilis porridge with wild veggie called, the one they use for making in Malaysia, they make the fish, what do you call that? Fish fish otauta. Every night when I passed by, I could smell the otauta leaves, daun kado is called. So simple his food. And then we had to get water from the well, no electricity. There was an arid shelter very close by, and every day we would hear the siren. That was a Japanese coming into Malaysia from the north, from Kota Bharu. Whenever we heard the siren, we would run into the arid shelter, and then later on, after a few minutes, the siren would blow again. But when the siren was to warn us of the impending danger, the plane coming, it would be woo, woo, woo. But when it's over and we are free to come out of the shelter, it will be just a plane like that. So it's okay to come out. And I remember no electricity at night, so we had to use candle. So we had to sleep on those bunks type, a platform. And I would put a curtain, pretend it was a stage, and do a bit of drama. But during the Japanese time, I got very, very sick from malaria. And the malaria went on for many years, even after the war. So I was very anemic. And malaria, you get this spell of fever, and then shiver and fever and shiver. And during the Japanese time, my mom, Amma, all self-sufficient. She grew all her vegetables, potatoes. She reared goose, turkey, chicken, ducks, and we went to collect wild veggie, tapioca leaves, paku, all this, wild, and we had to go down quite a distance, walk to nearer jungle site, and use a double big saw where 2 persons, one on each side, would saw the huge tree down, and then saw it again. My mom and me or my brothers took turns. We would saw it into logs and then carry the logs to our place. And then I remember I also tried to help to chop with a big type of axe, with not the ordinary axe, a big one. Split the logs, dry it, tie into bundles, and use it as firewood. And we would dig our own potatoes to cook and grow tapioca, the tapioca roots, use the sweet potato leaves and all that. I don't remember, no market. We never went to market. The market was in a city so far away. So that's chapter 1. I'm tired. When the war broke out in 1941, I was born 32, 9 years old. 32, 9 years old? A lot more to tell later on. I'm tired.